week 2 of the NFL live stream. Full slate of games today. We're gonna kick it off here with Steelers or Seahawks at Steelers. Steelers come in as 3.5 point favorites. Ace, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a good football game here. The Seahawks played a tight game against the San Francisco 49ers last week, and now they're playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had a shootout barn burner with the New York Jets last week. Being in Pittsburgh, I think, is the biggest part of this game here because if it was in Seattle, I think that 12th man would be rocking, and we would see the Seahawks favorited here. They got Jackson Smith and Jigba JSM, one of the best receivers in the league, involved early and often. They didn't get Cooper Kupp or Holton going too much, but they did get Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet both a bunch of looks here. I'm actually on the underdogs here. I know that the Steelers looked good last week, but that was against an inferior Jets team. And I think that Aaron Rodgers was hyped up to play against his former team in the New York Jets. I don't see them putting up a big number like that again, although I do think Chris Boswell hit some long field goals for them to keep them in the game. But I'm on the Seahawks here on the road. Some road dogs get it done. Mackie, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I don't really have a side on this one. I know I took the under on the Steelers game last week, and it came back and bit me in the ass. Um, Obviously, as that game soared over, each team scored over 30 points. Aaron Rodgers looked great last week. I think Sam Darnold looked good last week too. I think the heavy load of Zach Charbonnet is huge for the Seattle offense. Um, DK Metcalf against his old team. I think it should be a good game. I'm going to go on the under 40.5 here, but I do lean the Steelers. I think the Steelers get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, what are they going to do on offense? Though last week it was a lot of DK Metcalf getting funneled the ball heavily. He did look really good in his debut. Also, Jalen Ramsey looked good on the other side of the ball with that massive hit on Garrett Wilson to kind of end the game there, which was pretty cool. They just brought in Jabril Peppers. I don't think he's suiting up today. But the running game, Jalen Warren was involved offensively in the passing game. Meanwhile, we didn't see too much Caleb Johnson, who Huff was pretty excited for. If I had to take some touchdowns in this game, I'm going to be looking at Charbonnet again and again. I think there's some good value on him. I think they might move on from Kenneth Walker. I think he could be put on that trade block. It could end up being him to Kansas City or him to the Washington Commanders, who just lost Austin Eckler. But I think they're going to get the ball aired out a bit more this week, too. Obviously, JSN is uncoverable, in my opinion. Potentially a top 5 receiver at the end of this year. He could pass guys like A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill. But I think Cooper Kupp will see a little bit more targets. You can't keep him quiet the whole time. You didn't bring him in to do nothing. So look at their receiving props. But to get in the end zone, I like Charbonnet to do it again. I think he's going to end up being the bell cow and the guy in Seattle, even though I'm a big Kenneth Walker fan. Anybody else catching your eye for any props in this one?
I like Jalen Warren. I think his workload is heavy. I know Caleb Johnson, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see as many touches as a lot of people thought last week. Jalen Warren got a lot of the workload. He got in the end zone last week. I could see him getting in the end zone again. I know it's a bit of a personal game for Aaron Rodgers last week, but if he can keep playing like that, I mean, this Steelers team could be pretty dangerous. That defense looked good last week. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey with that game-winning hit on Garrett Wilson won them the game. But I mean, all around the defense looked good. The offense looked good. This Seahawks team, Cooper Kupp is not who he used to be. Obviously, he had that ever since that one season. He had that injury. Hasn't been the same since. I just don't think they have the weapons around them. Obviously, Smith and Jigba, like you said, could be a top 5 receiver in the league by the end of the season. These Ohio State wide receivers have just been pretty much taking over the league. But
Yeah, speaking of these Ohio State wide receivers, we got a question here from Will. Will, thanks for joining the chat. Patrick, shout out to you too. Stick along, give us your questions, betting questions, fantasy questions. But first question here is Emike Ibuka, JSN, or Lab McConkey this week? Wow, I mean, that's a crazy threesome to choose from. I'm guessing that's in fantasy, or is that for an anytime touchdown? But I don't know how you sit any of them. I'm going to start definitely JSN. Buka too. I think.
Ibuka,
But how do you sit McConkey either? That's like
yeah,
Will.
yeah.
There's like who else is starting ahead of him? I mean, that's an insane trio right there. I love all three of them. You can't sit JSN or McConkey. If you have to pick one to sit, it's Ibuka. I think McConkey's McConkey or JSN. They're
I'll
both
go
like
JSN there.
yeah, but McConkey's one of my favorite in the leagues too. I mean,
He gets the heavy targets too.
yeah, I guess we sit the rookie Ibuka because you got to think some target share goes back to Mike Evans this week after a big week for Emike. But on the other questions here, should I start Tyreek or Javonte Williams? Ooh, Mackie, your boy Javonte Williams for the Cowboys. Can he repeat his performance and find the end zone against the New York Giants?
Got carried by 2 touchdowns last week. Assuming he doesn't do that again, I mean, he wasn't that effective last week. But I mean, if he's the end zone back, then I mean, he's going to get in the end zone. So
I'm gonna take Tyreek Hill here, and I'm a Patriots fan, so I think we do win today. But without
I think Tyreek's out the door, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
but Christian Gonzalez isn't playing today for the New England Patriots, and we saw how much they were exposed in the secondary last week by a weak receiving core from the Vegas Raiders. So I think Tyreek gets a little bit of a game back. I think there's a lot of points in this game, honestly. Dolphins and Patriots. I think there's more than we expect. Um, they got a rebound, right? If not, I mean, I'm gonna completely write off this Tyreek and Dolphins team. But I'll give him one more chance here. Fire up Tyreek Hill. Ricky Pearsall, anytime touchdown. I don't know. I'm staying away from any Niners prop this week. That's
yeah,
gonna be really scary.
got Mac Jones throwing the football.
Yeah, I don't think there's many points in that game either, Saints and Niners. Devontae Smith or Calvin Ridley, I'm extremely confused. Let's go with Devontae Smith here. I know that AJ Brown's going to get kind of the squeaky wheel treatment after a light week last week, Prince, but Calvin Ridley, I don't know. He had the drops last week, and they're playing the Rams on the road, or no, I believe it's in Tennessee actually. But Cam
Haven't
Ward looked
seen much
good.
from Cam Ward yet either, so
I
I
thought
wouldn't.
Cam Ward looked good. They just couldn't catch the ball. Um,
I
we
mean, there
got
was a few over the middle of that throw with I think like a minute and a half left. Good place ball, I guess, but it's a tough throw over the middle.
gotcha,
You
Prince.
got this. What'd you say?
No, I was talking to the chat.
Yeah, got the strong safety over the top. I mean, you got a lot to worry about there. So, I don't think he looked great last week, but obviously it's the first game in the NFL.
Yeah,
So,
a lot to see, but the drops really hurt him. His dad was going through it. We
yeah,
got someone saying help Hunter Henry and Njoku here. Honestly, I'm gonna sit David Njoku, which is crazy to say because his floor looked scary last week with Harold Bannon stepping in and getting so many targets. Now they play the Baltimore Ravens, who should be a good defense on paper. You got Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton to kind of shut down that middle of the field. I'm gonna go Hunter Henry because he saw 9 targets last week from Drake May, and Drake May's full tenure with the Patriots. He gets the ball a lot, and like I said, I think there's points in Patriots Dolphins. Mackie, pick two for me quick. Sutton, Pickens, Pearsall, PPR.
Sutton Pickens. I think Pickens' workload works
Yeah, I
gets up
think
this week.
pretty easy too to stay away from Mac Jones this week. Fields or
Yeah.
Mahomes. Let's go. Oof, that's a tough one.
Who?
Oh,
Fields or Mahomes?
yeah, we saw Justin Field.
Fields
We
with
saw
the.
Lamar Jackson expose that defense with a rushing quarterback last week. We also see Ed Oliver sitting today for the Buffalo Bills, which is massive in my opinion. Let's go with Justin Fields to start with Patrick Mahomes. That's a crazy statement, but fantasy wise, I think it's not a bad one this week, especially if they're playing from behind a lot of air yards. I see an under in that 4 o'clock game. We'll get to the Patriots and Chiefs or Chiefs and Eagles here shortly. I'll run through these last few before we get to our next game. Coleman or KW3 in the flex. Let's go with KW3. I still think it's Charbonnet, but KW3 will see enough touches. I think Coleman, the Bills could blow him out. There's potential for that this week. So they might not throw too much. DK, Hollywood Brown, or Ridley. Obviously, DK Metcalf. He's a target hog. Prince, yeah, shout out to you. Do we like Patriots in the points today? Yeah, I do. I like them on the money line too. 49ers versus Vikings for defense. Your thoughts, guys? Oof. I think the Vikings come up with a turnover against Michael Penix on Sunday Night Football. We're going to cover that game late here. But the 49ers, they're playing against the New Orleans Saints. I mean, it's one of the worst offenses in the league. Let's fire up the Niners. If they have any chance to win, which I think they do, it's going to be the Niners defense holding down that weak Saints offense to like less than 17 points. I could see them giving up 1 touchdown at most this week. But Mackie, let's get into our next game. Keep those questions coming on any fantasy related things. We're happy to help you guys out. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, next game we got the Jaguars at the Bengals. Bengals coming in as 3.5 point favorites, minus 175 on the money line. What do you got here?
Yeah, I got the Bengals here to rebound. I know they won last week, but they had negative offensive yards in the second half. It was a divisional opponent, and Miles Garrett was flexing his muscles, looking like one of the best players in the league, taking down Joe Burrow a few times and having 4
I saw
tackles for loss.
2 straight times, 3 straight times.
Yeah, that whole drive was Miles Garrett just sending them backwards 3 plays in a row. And they ended up losing that game, though. So shout out to him for stepping up. But the Bengals, I mean, they won the game. That's all that matters. You know, it was nice to see at least. I know it was disappointing to see Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow fall flat on their face. Um, but their defense did step up. Yeah, there were some gifted opportunities, but they had turnovers. They got interceptions. They held them to less than 20 points. So that's what they need to get back to the playoffs after missing it last year. Meanwhile, I think that Jamar Chase finds the end zone this week. I think he feasts. It's going to be a just I think the live just went down on TikTok, but it's going to be I think it's going to be a big day for Jamar Chase here. I also think that Chase Brown finds the end zone, and I think that Travis Etienne, he looked really good last week for the Jags. Liam Cohen came in, and he was able to establish the run game in Tampa Bay. I think he does it again here in Jacksonville. So I like the 3 of them to get in the end zone. Brenton Strange looked pretty good too. Brian Thomas Jr. got to think he gets more targets, and Travis Hunter, obviously, I think he looked good as well. But what are your thoughts here on this Jags Bengals game? I like the over.
Yeah, last week the Jaguars looked really good. I'm not a big Jaguars guy. I'm not a big Trevor Lawrence guy, but I think he played a well. He played a good game. Travis Etienne looked really good last week. I don't know if that was a fluke game or not. On the other hand, Bengals looked like shit. Ended up getting the win, obviously, divisional game. But Burrow didn't look like himself. I think Jamar Chase only had like 40 yards, something like that. So obviously not a typical Bengals game. I do think they get the job done. You got to assume this team gets back on track at some point. They have too heavy powered of an offense to not. But it's just not something that I would bet on right now. I would wait to see it before I believe it. We saw it last year. This team started off 0-2. They get off to slow starts. We've seen year in, year out. Joe Burrow has not been able to start the season. Obviously, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I
Mhm.
stand by him year in, year out. But
The early season
when
Bengal
when you're
woes is
consistent when
sticking
you're
with you.
consistently not getting the job done to start the season, I mean, you can't bet on it until you see it. I think so. I do lean on the Jags here to cover the 3.5. Not going to take a side personally, but um, yeah, I think the Jags looked good last week, and they definitely have a chance to upset the Bengals here.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see them this Jags team pushing for
They
the
looked good
AFC
last week.
South.
If
Yeah,
Etienne
they
can do what he did last week,
but they
he's on like
also played the Panthers, one of the weaker
yeah,
teams in the
yeah,
league.
contract here.
Um,
He's got a lot to prove too.
yeah, I just think Liam Cohen's going to get that offensive game going. They also just traded Tanks Bigsby because they believe in him and Tootin, the backup running back, that rookie there.
Also,
He's
Brian Thomas did not really get engaged last week. I expect to see that this week.
Yeah, he got in the end zone, but he didn't get enough looks. A lot of
Not
fantasy
yeah.
owners were definitely worried about that. Travis Hunter, he's a nice PPR target. I think he's a good flex. Maybe he's going to be good for you on your bye weeks as well. Oh, we got Coleman or KW3 in the flex from Alex. Yeah, we're going to go with KW3. I think that the run game from both Charbonnet and KW3 are going to be sustainable. Any other questions on your lineup, Alex? Let us know. But yeah, I think that this Jaguars Bengals game does go over, Mackie. I like a lot of points here. Joe Burrow to throw for 2+ touchdowns, Chase Brown to get one, and Travis Hunter to get one. Brian Thomas Jr. have a strong day. I could see Brenton Stranger finding one. That's a nice dart throw there as well. But I think this is going to be a big one. Fire up any fantasy players you have in Bengals Jags today. Going to be a good one. Alex also asking Cup or Hunter. I'm going to go Travis Hunter over Cooper Cup.
Wow.
Mackie, you going to debate that? I think he's a PPR target
I don't
hog.
want to.
He's going to see 5+ catches this week.
I saw that they also want to incorporate him a little more in the defense, so you could see less reps on offense.
Mm-hmm.
If you have another option, I'd go the other option. I don't really
You
love
go
Cup
Cup
or
over
Hunter.
Travis Hunter. I think that Cup has a tough matchup here against the Steelers, though. I think there's more points to be had in this Jaguars
I
game.
think that if you can, you could find another option. I don't like either of them, but I guess you don't have a bad take there. I don't know. I don't love either of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the game that has the over. That's going to be that Jaguars and Bengals game. We got a question here. Pearsall, Myers, Tet, Marv, Amika, pick two. Marvin Harrison Jr. is definitely going to be in my
Hmm.
two from that list.
We'll go
He's
Jacoby
just
Myers as well.
really you're going Jacoby
I think
Myers without Brock
Igbuka.
Bowers. You like him?
Yeah, I think Igbuka also. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns last week, inflated his stats a little. You still got Mike Evans over there. I know Baker throws the ball 50 times a game, but I think you can't look at last week and be like he's going to do that every single week. So
Crazy take here. You want to know what I'm going to take is Satoria McMillan. I think he looked really good, and I think there's a lot of points in that Panthers and Cardinals game. I think
got Bryce
Bryce
Young
Young,
throwing him the football.
Bryce Young and Kyler Murray are going to be airing the ball out. Remember last year when these two teams matched up, when Bryce Young was at his peak at the end of the season, he was airing the ball out. He ended up beating the Cardinals too. So I'm going to stick with Tet and Marv here. I think the two young guys get going. I'm going to say Marv is going to be a start every week. He's going to be a must start every week. He's going to have a massive year two after a disappointing year one. Put on a lot of muscle, a lot of weight, and he looked great in week one with that TD grab. I'm expecting him to go over. I have him over 53.5 yards receiving too. So if you're taking that prop, it's a great one. Cam asking Hollywood or Tet McMillan. Oof, Hollywood was a target hog. He was the go-to
He
guy
will
for
be
Pat
again.
Mahomes. Yeah, let's fire up Hollywood. Depends if you're in a PPR league, full PPR or even half. Let's go with Hollywood Brown. If you're not in PPR, let's go with McMillan though. I think you might see more yards, but Hollywood Brown's going to see a lot of catches this week. I traded Sampson for Judkins. W, yeah, W is in the chat for you, GBU Hockey 18. I think Judkins, you might want to hold him. He might not be good right away. I know that they activated him this week, so keep him on your bench this week. Let's see what he's got. But down the line, 2-3 weeks from now, later in the season, when we're getting close to the playoff push, he's going to be a league winner in my opinion. I think he's going to be a do it all back. Drake May or Baker Mayfield and Tet or Abuka from Alex Solomon. That's a good question here. Mackie, what are you thinking? Baker on Monday Night Football? You can't sit him yet, right? Like Baker's been on fire.
No, yeah, of course not. And
But Drake May does it with his arm and his legs.
you just don't want to. You just don't
Look
want
at
to
what
say anything.
Daniel Jones did to the Dolphins last week.
Daniel Jones looked good, but also, I mean, Daniel Jones is not a bad quarterback.
Drake May's coming off of a career high passing 287 yards last week with a touchdown and some rushing yards. I started him over Drake or Dak Prescott last week. I'm gonna start Baker though. Baker has too many weapons to not put up good numbers. And he's on Monday Night Football, so if your team can put up some points today, and you said Tet or Buka, let's run the stack here. I like Tet a lot this week, but let's run that Baker or Buka stack. If you're gonna stick with it, let's stick with it. Alex Solomon, Monday Night Football, you can get a lot out of it. JSN or DK? That's a great question, Mac. I'll let you take that one.
I'll go
They're playing
JSN.
against each other. Yeah, you can
JSN
never say
Tart.
JSN, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think I'd say DK either. Who else do you have in your receiving core? Are you an 8-man league, 6-man league? I know Mackey plays in a 4-man league, so he's got a big team too. But
Team
I
looks
think
like it.
JSN and DK should both be in your lineup. So um, yeah, let's fire them both up if you can. Maybe in a flex or in another spot. Pickens or Jennings flex. Let's go Pickens. RJ Harvey or Coleman. Let's go RJ Harvey. I think he's explosive and he earned more touches. Fannin or Andrews? I think Mark Andrews is done. I really do. He has no
Mhm.
juice in his legs, and I think Isaiah Likely's the guy. They don't give the ball to Andrews anymore. I'm going Fannin. He saw a lot of targets last week, but I think I would go somewhere else if you have another option. Moore or Hill? I think that's DJ
DJ
Moore or
Moore.
Tyreek Hill. I like DJ Moore a lot. Big fan. Just got to make sure he's healthy. Got a little banged up last week. Let's go with DJ Moore. Do you like CMC over 4.5 catches? That's a high number. I don't like a lot of
A
props
lot
in
of
this
dump
game.
offs, so you gotta assume.
Yeah, but do you like props in this game? I'd stay away from the Niners and Saints game.
Yeah, not a bad take.
Yeah, let's see if we can find something else. Would you trade Flowers for Bucky? I have Bowers, Tyler Warren, and Finn. I need a running back upgrade. Yeah, I mean, if you have Tyler Warren, I think you can trade Brock Bowers for Bucky, but see if you can get something else with it. I think Brock Bowers garners a lot more than just Bucky Irving, but if that's all you can do, let's do it. Lad or Buka Lad every day of the week. He's a stud. Misty, how you doing? Good morning. Tet or Hill? Let's go Tet. Tyreek Hill's got to show us more. Herbert or May? Ooh, I think Justin Herbert could be pushing for MVP this year, especially since he's dating Madison Beer. So let's go Justin Herbert. Abuka Thomas Jr. Let's go. Ooh, Mackie, tell me. You tell me on that one. Abuka
What
Thomas
is it?
Jr. Brian Thomas Jr. or
I
Mike
think Brian
Abuka?
Thomas Jr. gets very engaged this week. I think
He did nothing
Beng-
last week.
Bengals defense also had a good week last week. I don't expect it to continue. Um, he could have a major day today.
Yeah, Cole, let's go with Stephon Diggs over J.K. Dobbins. Kill, let's go with Isaiah Pacheco over Dobbins as a flex. I think he's touchdown dependent, but I think you might find pay dirt today. Jack, James Conner or Sutton at the flex. Go James Conner. He's a light matchup, light defense. Zach, Herbert or Fields. Go Herbert. We're going to start him until the wheels fall off. Great receiving core that Harbaugh put together. Penny, start Jalen Warren or Travion Henderson. Travion Henderson, the Patriots and Mike Vrabel said they're going to get him much more involved. Also, thanks for the follow in the chat. Give us a follow if you guys can. Definitely love it. Follow, gifts, whatever you can do. Comments. We just love helping you out today. Every Sunday we're here. You know that. But yeah, we'll go Travion Henderson. He's going to turn up this week. I think he gets a lot of touches, and he is dynamite in the backfield when he gets the ball. Start QJ or Charb. Let's go Q. Oh, I'm going to go Charb, actually. I'm going to Charb. I think he's going to be the guy in Seattle. I think they move on from Kenneth Walker. I don't know if you guys heard me earlier, but I think Charbonnet is going to take over as that number one running back in Seattle, at least at some point. He's really good, in my opinion. I think he's one of the better running backs in the league. JSN or Ricky Pearsall. Stay away from your Niners. Go JSN. ETN, DK, or Johnson at flex. Let's go DK. And then ETN is my second favorite pick if you can find a way to get him in the lineup. A lot of points in that game. Andrews, Ferguson, or Strange. Let's go Strange. I like Jay Ferg a lot, Mackey's Cowboys, but I think Brenton Strange is going to have a big year. He had a lot of targets last week. He was involved on that first scripted drive, so that means they want to get him the ball. I think he will again. Bears or Lions? We like the Lions. Dak or Burrow? Let's go Burrow. Travis Kelsey or Fannin Jr. or should I pick up Juwan Johnson? Pick up Juwan Johnson. Nah, you can't sit Travis Kelsey here. He doesn't have a lot of targets out there in Kansas City. Let's give him one more week. I know he got a touchdown last week too. Let's go Travis Kelsey, but keep Fannin on your bench. Bears or Lions? With the Lions. Allen, Pickens, or Sutton in the flex. Ooh, I'm going to go Pickens, but I think Keenan Allen's going to have a strong year. He's going to be sneaky. That's a really good trio to have in your flex spot. I don't know how you got that. Let me hear your starting receivers. And last one we'll take before we get to our next game. James Cook or ETN over James Cook or Ashton Genty? Sadly, no, but I think ETN's going to have a great year, so that's a great stash. Maybe put him in your flex. Bernie the Bear, Marty the Moose. Great question. Shout out to you, Hoss. I'm going to go Marty the Moose. All right, Mackie, let's get to our next game here.
Yeah, third game of the day, we have the Bears at the Lions. Lions come in as 6 point favorites, minus 270 on the money line. What do you think here?
Yeah. So you said Lions, 270 on the money line, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Lions get back to it. I was saying on the podcast the other day, for those of you in the chat, if any of you watch SpongeBob, you ever see that episode where SpongeBob's in the chum bucket and you have Mr. Krabs in the Krusty Krab, and they're both singing to each other? That's Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell
Great,
without each
great
other
analogy. Great
because they can't
analogy.
do anything without each other. I think they really need each other to get going. Um, but I think it's going to be awesome. A lot of people are on Ben Johnson. The Bears get going. They looked like Super Bowl contenders in the first half last week. And then Caleb Williams, the wheels fell off the bus. He was missing DJ Moore. They gave up points to JJ McCarthy. And if JJ McCarthy can expose your defense in the fourth quarter, I'm high on him. Many aren't. Then I think that Jared Goff and the Lions will be able to get going. Give me the Lions here to cover as well. Jameer Gibbs will get going again. Look for Monra to get going. That defense should turn up a little bit too. I think they're going to get after Caleb Williams, and he's under pressure. He can't make any good throws. Um, I don't think that run game's very strong. Komet and Loveland didn't do too much either. I wasn't impressed with them. That Bears team, I know they look good early, but give me the Lions here to get right. Too good of a team on paper to lose this game.
Yeah, I don't think they lose this game, but I do like the Bears plus the 6 in a divisional matchup. I think they keep it close. I think, like you said, without Ben Johnson, this Lions offense just looks lost. They look depleted. Um, I do think that their defense is going to have a good game. I don't like Caleb Williams at all. I think first half, he looked good. I wouldn't say he looked great. I think he looked good. Second half, like you said, the wheels fell off. Looked terrible. Couldn't hit wide open receivers. Um, DJ Moore could have a good game. I think he's just kind of a safety blanket. But I really don't like this Lions offense until I see them actually do something without Ben Johnson. So um, I'm gonna go under 46.5 here in a divisional matchup, but I think the Bears cover the 6 points.
I could see the under come into play as well, but I do think it's going to be the Lions that end up getting the job done. I think Jameer
How
Gibbs finds.
confident are you in that though?
I'm actually very confident in them to win. To cover, though, that is a lot of points in divisional game. I do think they cover, though. You know what? I might put
You
that on
think
my
last
card.
week was a fluke, or you think they
Yeah,
actually have
no, I
some?
think the Packers are really good. I think the Packers are really good. They gained my respect. They shut down two of the number one and number two offense from last year. They shut them down back to back weeks.
Mhm.
So I think that the Bears defense is nowhere close to as good as the Micah Parsons led Cheeseheads. So I think the Lions really get going here. Chat, what do you think, Lions or Bears? Let me think on this one. I got the Lions here. I think Jameer Gibbs finds the end zone too. I'm telling you, maybe even Demont too. You get Sonic and Knuckles to get in the end zone. A couple questions in the chat real quick. He doesn't think you'd start ETN over Cook or Ashton. Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't either. But I like ETN. I think he's gonna have a big year. Keep him on your bench. Starting receivers are Puka and Jefferson. Wow, great draft you had there, man. I mean, love that for you. You got some great receivers going. Jamar Chase and Ibuka or Tyreek Hill and DK Metcalf. We're gonna stick with anybody that has Jamar Chase in there one spot, and I think Ibuka is pretty comparable to the other guys. But DK Metcalf is really good. I'm high on him this year. Rogers loves him. Hoss is saying Abuka or Evans. Oof, Mackie, who you starting this week? Mike Evans or Mike Abuka?
Mike Evans, he's still wide receiver one. Ibuka had two big touchdowns last week. He called for the ball in the game winning play,
Mhm.
but he's still not wide receiver one. I'm gonna go Mike Evans here.
Yeah, I think they might alternate weeks too. Like one week it's going to be a Mika, the next week's going to be Mike Evans. So I think it's Mike Evans' turn to eat on Monday Night Football this week. Tracy or Olave at the flex? Oof, that's a tough
You
call.
gotta assume the Giants incorporate Tyron Tracy a little more than they did last week with the terrible offensive week last week. I think he's probably behind Malik Neighbors, their best offensive player. So you got to incorporate your best players in your offense. I think he gets going this week.
I think Cam Scatabo is the better running back on that
Get
team.
out of here! Come on,
I do, but I don't
I
think
can't get behind the Cam
Tyron
Scattergood.
Tracy, my brother brought up a good point. He wasn't actually a lifetime running back. He just converted that running back role when he was in the NFL. So I think he's more of a gadget player. I think he has a place in the league. I don't think he has a place as an RB1. But that being said, I think it's going to be a low scoring game in San Francisco and New Orleans today. So I'm going to start Tyron Tracy here. One thing that worries me, though, is you guys got Kenny Clark playing in the middle of that defense now, and he's very good at stopping the run. I do think the Cowboys have a very big game today. Remind the league they're still one of the better teams in the NFC. So I don't expect too much to come out of it. But he's also a PPR guy too, right? Tyrone Tracy, he can catch some passes. So yeah, let's fire up Tyrone Tracy. But I don't like either of those options. You got anybody else, Nathan, to start in that spot? I don't know. Need someone to pick between the two because I can't. Appreciate you. Yeah, Hoss, ride with Mackie on Mike Evans there. Mac, let's get into our next game here.
Yeah, biggest game of the day probably. Game of the week. We got Super Bowl rematch. Eagles at the Chiefs. Chiefs come in as plus 1.5, plus 102 on the money line at home. Over under 46.5. What do you got here?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like the under in this one. Are there going to be any answers uh, for the? This is the Chiefs game we're talking about, right? Sorry, I was looking at the chat here.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, do they have answers from last year from that Super Bowl? They couldn't put anything together. Now you're without Xavier Worthy. You're without Rasheed Rice. Um, you got Juju and Hollywood Brown and my boy Tyquan Thornton on the outside with
Oh,
Travis Kelsey in the middle. Pacheco and Hunt look stuck in the mud. I think the defense did play well against the Chargers. Though they ended up losing, giving up that last play, and not get the ball back. But I don't know. I like Patrick Mahomes. He put on a Superman cape last week and he couldn't get the job done running all over the place. So maybe we take his over on rushing yards, 23.5 again. I think that might be a good play. But the Eagles on the other side, I think that they get contained a little bit more. It's going to be in Kansas City, so that helps. But could the Chiefs start 0-2? I think they could. Then the sky will be falling. Everybody will say they're done. They're going to write them off. And then Patrick Mahomes is going to do his Tom Brady impression and bring them back to the playoffs and the AFC Championship. Yeah, I think the Eagles. Oof, I can't pick a side on this one. I'm gonna lean the Chiefs, but I think the Eagles are a good pick here. I'm not gonna give you a play here. I'm gonna take the under though. I think the under is a good play, and I like Hollywood Brown on the catches. I like AJ Brown on the catches. Two good receiving props there. Mackie, give me your take on the Super Bowl rematch in Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you here. I don't really love a side. If I had to lean, I think I would go with the Chiefs. I just don't see them starting 0-2. I think the Eagles looked a little weaker last week. Obviously, they got the job done against the Cowboys. Um, Being a Cowboys fan, I'm not as high on them as you are, but I think they played them well last week. I think that they didn't look like they did at the end of last season. Obviously, it's a very similar team. A lot of rookies as well, though. They got to get going. They got to get going again, and they didn't look like they did at the end of last week. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs here. I think Mahomes gets the job done.
Yeah, I
Not
think so
very
too.
confident in it. I think both defenses kind of step up today. Um, Chiefs don't have a lot of support right now, obviously with all the injuries going on. So and Rashi Rice doesn't
Taylor
know how to
Swift should
act.
be at the game though. They're in Kansas City for the home opener. You think Travis Kelsey finds the end zone for her?
I don't love Travis. I think he's washed. He's got his
And the
mind on
Eagles
other things
drafted
right
that
now.
linebacker too. That's been all over the field, so that's definitely going to help out. But I don't know. I think Travis Kelsey has got to be a go-to target for Mahomes at some point. He might not put up the big numbers like he did before, but I think he's a red zone target for sure. I could see him getting the end zone this week. You know what? I like it. I might add that to my card. Travis Kelsey to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl rematch with Taylor Swift in the crowd. Mackey's a big Swifty, so I think he might ride that too. Yeah,
Can't get behind that, but I don't hate the play. So if you had to give a side here, what are you taking?
I'm taking the Chiefs gun to my head. I mean, I don't think they have any answers, but you know who does? Number 15 in red. Best player on the field still, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I mean, you got the Saquon Barkley, though. That's your mortal lock, isn't it?
Yeah, I do like Saquon to get in the end zone.
Yeah.
Um,
That should be good. Chris Jones was
so
stuffing that
reliable.
run last week, though.
Minus
Marion Hampton didn't have
minus
much
one
room.
thirty. Yeah, but with that tush push, I mean, they're going to be really focused on that. You still have the
Hmm.
best running back in the league behind there, so um, low odds -135 could take one in the end zone.
What about the squeaky wheel for AJ Brown? A lot of people were disappointed with his fantasy performance last week. You think he sees a lot of targets here?
I mean, you kind of have to incorporate your best receiver, right? I mean,
Mhm.
Devontae Smith didn't have a great week last week either. I don't think Jalen Hurts is really slinging the football. He had that um, one downfield throw. I don't even know who that was too. It wasn't to either one of them, but
Was it
um,
Dotson?
might have been. I don't know, but Jalen Hurts was not slinging the football last week. You expect him to kind of get into that as the season progresses, but until I see it, I don't know. I don't love AJ Brown. I think obviously he's one of the best receivers in the league. I don't think they incorporate him enough. I don't think they really ever
Yeah, in that
have.
offense, it's tough.
Yeah, it is. There's too much to go around over there, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't get behind him just being like a target hog this week.
Yeah, chat. Let us know any fantasy questions you got. Let us know if you need any help. We're definitely here to give you some picks this week. So definitely tune in, drop some links. We're gonna give you our picks of the week, the team parlay, which hit last week at plus 550, and our mortal locks of the week coming up shortly. But let's get into our Sunday night football game to close out the slate, Mackie.
Yeah. Sunday Night Football, we have the Falcons at the Vikings. Vikings come in as 3.5 point favorites on their home turf, -180 on the money line. Over under sitting at 44.5. What are your takes here?
Yeah, I mean, you get the national championship rematch between Michael Penix Jr. and JJ McCarthy. Can Michael Penix get his revenge? I think they looked really good this week. I know you're low on these Atlanta Falcons, but that was a great game they played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were a young Ho Koo leg away from tying it up and forcing overtime, and now Koo's on the IR. Michael Penix, though, that what the way that he was balling to get back in the game. That touchdown to tie it up late. I know they got like 5, 6 chances because of that penalty that reset their downs, but he ran it in. Bijan looked like the best running back in the league. Sorry, Hoss. I know Derrick Henry looked good, but he fumbled. I think Bijan's the best receiving back in the league,
I
at
don't
least.
think he looked that good last week. He had his receiving
That
yards,
long
he had his receiving
touchdown.
touchdowns. Yeah, it just like wasn't from the ground though.
Yeah, I think they were just stacked up. That Bucks defense led by Vita Vea in the middle. I mean, you got to expect them. They have good linebackers too that really shut down the run, and they picked them apart through the air. Drake London looked good too. Kyle Pitts had a good day. I think that the Falcons are able to fight, but I think JJ McCarthy's a good quarterback. Kevin O'Connell, best offensive mind in the league. Him and Kyle Shanahan, I think. I think that JJ McCarthy has another strong day and builds off that fourth quarter success. We saw Aaron Jones get involved. We saw Justin Jefferson get more involved. We need to see more TJ Hawkinson. We need to see a little bit Adam Thielen while Jordan Addison's on the shelf. Give me the Vikings to defend home turf this week. Let's go Skull in the chat. I think that the Vikings are going to win this week. One of the best teams in the NFC North, in my opinion. There's a reason they were in the playoffs and won so many games last year. JJ McCarthy, look for him to rush another one in as well. Those legs of his are pretty sneaky, and people don't account for it, at least not yet. So, yeah, Justin Jefferson's going to be hitting that gritty on Sunday Night Football, but I think it's going to be a hotly contested game. I could see almost some overtime in this one. I'm going to call it here. Long shot prediction, overtime tonight in Falcons Vikings. Falcons almost forced it last week. They do it this week, but the home team comes out on top. Both teams have a successful day. Drake London suits up and has a strong day. Fire up Kyle Pitts in all your leagues too. I think he gets 6+ catches. I think it's a good day for all the star fantasy players on both sides of the offense. I see 27-24 Vikings overtime win. Mackie, give us your take on Falcons Vikings.
Yeah, I'm not huge on either one of these teams. I did not like JJ McCarthy at all coming into the season. I think I'm a little higher on him now after last week. Terrible first half, one of the worst we've seen. But for him to come out in the second half and do what he did and win that football game, I think it shows a lot about his character. I think all he needed was a little confidence, and he was able to gain that halfway through the game. So good for him. I do like Michael Penix. I don't like this Falcons team. I think both this Falcons team, and the Bucks, not very good. I think that game was a little overrated last week, but um, Bijan obviously huge factor in this game. You got to assume he gets in the end zone as well. I lean on the Vikings. I think they can get the job done. I don't think either of these teams are very dangerous, but I think on their home turf, JJ McCarthy just needs to lean on his
Do
wide
his
receiver
job.
one here. Yeah, just lean on Justin Jefferson like you did last week. Um,
Should be a
get the
good
job
Sunday
done.
night football game, though. They blessed us with some great primetime games so far. I know that Thursday night game was kind of a dud this week, but I think we get back to it with tonight's Sunday night football game and that doubleheader of Monday night football tomorrow, which should be fun. Mackie, let's close it out for the people with our mortal locks and the team parlay. If you want to run through the team parlay and the odds, and if you want to run through the mortal locks, we can do that. Any final questions? Let us know in the chat before we get out of here.
Yeah, team parlay. We got Derrick Henry coming in at minus 180 odds, Bijan coming in at minus 127, and the Cowboys money line at minus
Three
227.
legs.
Parlayed together plus 302 odds. Lock it in now. Mortal locks are going to go ace with Travion Henderson over 2.5 receptions minus 150.
And he's finding
D-
the end zone.
Huff with DK Metcalf over 66.5 receiving yards against his former team plus 104. And I got Saquon anytime touchdown minus 135.
Yeah, I
Um,
like those. And you know what? We hit that team parlay last week. Four legs, by the way, plus 550. So we're starting off hot. Definitely want to tell that plus 305. Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, and the Cowboys to win the game over the Giants. And that's not even with Mortal Locks too. I think it's going to be a good week.
links are below. So appreciate you guys coming around and be back next week.
Yeah, talk soon.